host it online now because we're able to get people in from all over the world. And we actually have people this month someone from Finland is here, my friend Juho, and we have people from all over tuning in, which is really amazing. So for this event, what we do is curate two different artists, and those two artists will each give a 20-minute presentation of their work, and they'll talk about their processes and their techniques and their concepts. So we're gonna have Sharon Harris go first, and then Cliff Coop will go second. And then after both of the presentations, we're gonna do a Q&A. So you guys in the audience, feel free to type questions into the chat box as they speak. And during the Q&A at the end, we'll be able to pull those questions and have them answer them. And then of course, you can add in more questions at the end as well. So that'll be the format for tonight's meeting. And then Habib, why don't you introduce the artists for us?
Just before you do, Habib, I forgot to tell everyone I'm recording. Recording the meeting. Okay.
Nice, awesome. So we are live. All right. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, just like my friend Heather said. And without further more delay, let's get into it. We have Sharon Harris from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She is a pinhole photographer. She's going to show you some of her work that she's been working on. I'm excited. I cannot wait to see what she has in store for us. And we also have my man, Cliff Cooper from New Jersey. He's going to be showing us a lot of different Americana, suburban style stuff. I think this guy he's amazing. He's a real inspiration to me. He's an awesome guy. So without further ado, without any more delay, take it away, Miss Sharon.
Thank you, Habib, and thanks for inviting me, Heather and Michael. And so I am a pinhole photographer. I've been doing pinhole photography for at least 15 years. I am really happy to have found the medium. It is definitely my medium. I do nothing else, no other type of photography except pinhole. Here is one of my cameras. I hope everybody can see it, if you can, hopefully. And this is my needle that I make the cameras with. I can't really see myself, so I'm trying to hold it up so everybody can see. It's on a little pencil here, an eraser. So, and I've used the same needle ever since I started making my own cameras, which I do make all my own cameras. So, okay, so I want to start now showing my work. So I will share my screen. And
it's working.
Excellent. All right. So here are some of my cameras. And for the most part, I use large cameras with 8x10 negatives or smaller cameras like this T10 here, which produces a narrow image formation. So if I don't want to take in the whole landscape, because of course this is super wide angle, I will use a smaller one, and I'll show you as I go through the images which ones came from this particular camera. I have about 25 cameras that I go out with on a photo shoot. And some of these small cameras are the ones that I started out using, which I love, and the images that come from them I think are really precious. But for the most part now, I've been using larger cameras with different shapes to them. And so these other cameras, sometimes I'll take them out with me and kind of use them as warm up, but it's a real surprise if I do get something, a keeper from them. So this first piece here, this is actually my newest piece. And for my process, what I do is I go out and scout out areas and possible sculptures, or I really have everyone actually searching for me, and they're always on assignment. Anywhere they go, I say, okay, so make sure you look and see if you can find anything you think I might be interested in shooting. So scouting around Philadelphia one day, I saw these, what this sculpture is called Your Move. So I took a few cell phone shots and decided to bring my model, Christy, back. And here is a cell phone shot that I took of this scene. And as you can see here, it's super wide angle because I was in the exact same place as I was with Christy in the cell phone image. And I usually don't work on such a grand scale with such big buildings. I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. I thought they may go off the page. I might only see some windows or something, which is one of the things that I adore about pinhole photography, is that you just really don't know. And my main interest in the subject was the surrealness of the dominoes and the buildings. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I would edit them out, which sometimes I do, but decided that this is the way I was going to keep it. This piece is, as I said, I put everyone on assignment to find me locations, and my niece took her kids out to the children's garden in Camden, and she called me and said, well, I think you might be interested in the children's garden because they have some interesting things for pinhole. So this is my daughter, Kara, and she's posing on the teacup on one hot summer day. And so this here is the cell phone image of it. And as you can see here, I've edited out the teacup and the teapot and some of the things in the background. And what's interesting is because I exposed for the light on the figure, that a lot of times the background goes really dark and it tends to look like a night shot, when really it's in the middle of the day, as you can see. And I consider myself an image maker. So part of my art is editing, and I pay a lot of attention to that and basically take the liberties to get it the way I want. Let's see here. Now, this piece, I used to have a friend that she used to say, art comes out of living life. So one night, my husband said, oh, why don't we go down to the festival in Camden? And I really do not feel like going to this festival. But being a good sport that I am, I went to the festival and I saw this moon there. And I thought it was part of the festival, but it wasn't. It was still there the next day when I went back with Sierra. And so we did a shoot in Camden at the moon. This piece also is the same moon. And with a different camera, with a different shape to it for this camera, you can see that it really changes the shape of the moon. So now it looks kind of like a piece of machinery, where the other one, this one, looks like it was taken at night. And of course, it looks like a moon. So when I go out on a shoot, I will take the whole shoot for one subject, 25 cameras, different poses, different ideas, and just go for it. Because I discover for my process, it takes me this long to get a piece. And I also took a picture here of the moon and Sierra modeling on the moon. This piece is called Inner Compass, which I love to title my pieces, and some of them are still untitled, but I pay a lot of attention to titles, and sometimes they're very simple, just moon, but this piece, Inner Compass. And this is taken at the Camden County Library. And being super wide angle, again, the building, of course, is not that far. And Sierra is just on a ledge, just posing on a ledge there. And then there's just a few steps of ivy. And then the library building in the background, which has this look of bunkers or I don't know what here. And my son and I had done an exhibit together, and he's a graphic artist, and he had made the props. And this is a prop that was made out of pool noodles. So it was kind of crazy, us out there with Sierra and the pool noodles. But this piece I really like because of the distortion and the way that the pool noodles just kind of went with the flow of the landscape. And I feel this movement, which I really don't pay that much attention to with my work. I guess I don't have much interest in movement for the most part, but in this piece, it just looks like she's kind of steering or I don't know what. It's just a surreal piece that is one of my favorite. This piece is from the series, The Wisdom of the Saints. And that series started when I saw a target practice deer in a neighbor's yard. So I asked him if I could borrow his deer. And then when he said yes, I said, could I borrow it for a month? And he said, knock yourself out. So I took this deer around with me, and then I had to give it back. And so I got my own deer for Christmas one year. And this is my deer that I took out, and I had discovered this landscape in Lindenwold, just driving down the White Horse Pike, and they had done some construction, and there was this pile of black dirt and rubble or rubbish, whatever it is, torn up blacktop. So I got Grace and my deer, and we headed out to this location. And I decided on this piece that I wanted to put the model in the background, because sometimes I get a little bored with having everyone on the same plane, my prop, my model. So I decided that the deer was going to come forward and she was going to go backwards. So she climbed up on this hill, and this is the piece. And it was surprising because there were a lot of weeds and things in the way, and it just added to the interest. And this series is basically a series that started when I started looking around for lawn ornaments and just fake animals and trying to see how they would look. And as you can see, I didn't take away the little joints here. I just kept everything because I want the viewer to not really care that it's fake, but just to be interested in the overall piece. This piece is when I showed the T10 and the narrow image formation on the narrow camera. This is from that camera and held in the vertical on its side, which would make it vertical. And this piece, Grace, my model Grace, she jumped up on this sculpture. There's a little ledge there. And the interesting thing about this piece is that it really gets wider. The sculpture here gets wider at the bottom. But because of the pinhole distortion, it's gone into this point. So it was very surprising to me. I think I know these things, but it's always a surprise when I see it. And sometimes I just have to just say thank you to the pinhole camera, because it made it a lot more interesting than I could certainly imagine. And when we were at this location, this is at Burlington County College. I think since these sculptures have moved, but I've been going around to colleges also and looking around for sculptures and whatever could make a surreal environment, and mostly on a smaller intimate scale. So, and I'm going to be going to another college up in Pennsylvania, what is it? Philadelphia University, something like that. And my husband and I, during the pandemic, we've just been getting on our bikes and taking our bikes out to different colleges and going around their campuses. And I've been photographing the sculptures, and I will continue this body of work. And this is from the series called Local Haunt, which is basically just all my series overlap in some way, but just basically places that you would go to think and hang out, or favorite places. So that's what that series is about. This piece is from the series Untraveling, and the very first piece of the series. So I got the idea for this series because I noticed every time my daughter came back, for a while she was traveling a lot. And I noticed that when she came back from traveling, she would be elated and so happy and tell us all about her travels. And then she would be down in the dumps and very depressed and have a lot of anxiety. So I thought about that, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And so the series is based on her travels and her getting reacquainted with being back home again. So I have a friend that I go to her place, and she has a small farm and a beautiful barn, and just a great place to photograph. And this was taken in front of her barn, which again went very dark. And Liz, the model Liz here, she's wearing a wicker basket that I found. I saw these wicker baskets when I was leaving the store, and I think they're seats. And so I said I went back in the store and I said, "Excuse me, could you tell me how much these baskets are that are outside by your dumpster?" And he said, "Well, first of all, we don't sell things by the dumpster. And secondly, you can have it." So Liz put this around her neck, and she just looks to me like a little bee or bug running under the ground, and the movement of the trees, one of the rare pieces of movement that I have, that I pay attention to anyway in my work, is in this piece. Let's see, and here, now this piece called Chandelier. This was taken indoors, and I really don't work too much indoors. First of all, I don't like to use hot lights, and they look so bad. I mean, sometimes they can just look terrible, and fake lighting. And for the most part, I prefer to have a lighting source that you're not really sure about where it came from. So I feel we have that in this piece. And what's interesting about this piece is it looks almost like she's looking out the window at some trees and things out, a landscape out there. But what that is really is wallpaper. So we rented a house up in the Catskills, which I do every year. We go up for a week or so, and I photograph. It's just gorgeous up there. And so we rented this house where they had all these animal themes and things. And there was the chandelier that had these antler type of chandelier. So placed on her head, it tends to look like this big crown. And she was under it, actually, leaning on the table under the chandelier. And the shape, because of the shape of the camera, the window, the wallpaper went into this little window look. And this was big wallpaper. And another surprise, I did not expect that this wallpaper was going to become small like that. And my last piece here, another indoor piece called Soul Travel. So a friend and I, another photographer and I, we rented the church area of Fleischer Art Memorial. I don't know if anyone's been there, but it's really, really beautiful. So we took our lights and we went over, and I noticed that there was this door there that had some sunlight coming through it. With this sheer curtain over it, and the model here is just up, and I like to play around with props and things, and so I have this Statue of Liberty crown here, and so she posed with that, and I feel like that has given this area around her head some interest instead of just fading into the background. And I do like the low light on her, and it's just kind of an eerie look. And this is also one of my favorite pieces, and taken with one of the smaller T-tins with the narrow image formation. And I think that that's it.
Wow, Sharon, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. It was awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So if you want to stop sharing your screen, I think we'll then head over to Cliff. And Cliff will present his work for us. And then at the end, we'll do our Q&A. It looks like we have tons of incredible questions already. So Sharon, you can take a peek in the chat box and see what will be asked of you at the end tonight. And then Cliff, do you think you're ready to go?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
So I'll
Take
just start
away.
the screen share. Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Cliff. Thank you guys for having me. And I guess I'll just kind of really breeze in to what I wanted to show you guys. I was a little confused about what to really show, because I've kind of transitioned from working in New York and shooting in the city constantly, day in, day out, for nearly 2.5 years, and kind of changed my tune last year, end of last year, to wanting to shoot more locally to me. So I think then what I'll do is I'll just show you. I'm just blazed by this so I can describe more of my suburban stuff, but wanted to give you guys a peek of what I'll be basically printing soon. This is going to be one of my first zines about New York. Basically, a lucid dream is how I see reality when I go out to shoot. So this is basically my layout for my zine. So you guys get a little sneak peek. All right, make sure. Okay, so a little forward. I don't know if you guys want to read it, but it's there. So buy my book. But basically, I want to see things in a way that visually makes me feel. So this is curated very much in a tone of feeling, which I like to do with my images. Not like a documentary style, but it's really something that I just I curate the images after years and years of shooting to give a total story about how I feel about my experiences in New York and the people I meet. I love this one. I mean, it's just I like weird instances, and I love the fact that New York City and LA and San Francisco, you can get a lot of that. It's part of the joy, I think, of actually living or working in the city. Especially, I mean, at least if you're a photographer. And it's a way I could just remember my time in New York. Who finds the cliche shot of construction workers gazing on, it's just instances again in New York. Oh, sorry, graphicness. This is one of my favorite shots. I think it was the first 6 months I was back in New Jersey after Mr. 45 was elected. This was at the women's rally in New York City, 2017, 2017. And this was the Pride last year, 2019. This is one of my favorite images I've ever took. So it's kind of like a humble brag about it. Like, I don't know. I just love the idea of the decisive moment actually being there. You know, like, I think as photographers, we work so hard to just get that one image. And there's a lot of trial and error and failure to get it. And like, sometimes you just need a little luck. So I got luck. And then, yeah, my endpoint for New York. So that's like sort of my love letter to New York City. Like, thank you for all the years I like worked and lived at one point, and like, you know, basically went to school there. So it's very fortunate, you know, that I'm able to have like it, like just absorb all the stuff that goes around in New York. But, you know, after a while, it gets kind of boring. Not boring, I should say, but like, I wanted to like really focus on something that I heard before from another photographer, is like, you know, if you can't make work from like where you're from, you know, you should like really reconsider your approach. So like, I'll start this one. Basically, this is basically my 2020. So going from what you saw me shooting stylistically and content-wise in the city, I wanted to do less of New York and more of everything else around me. So the quarantine is kind of beneficial for me in a little bit. It really, really forced me to stay within New Jersey for the most part and shoot in New Jersey. And I think it's a really good growing point for somebody when you can get to that point and you want to just explore. Because after this, I think I'm going to have to try pinhole photography. Sharon, your stuff is beautiful. Just wanted to say that real quick. All right. Yeah, I just find images like I always carry a camera. So this is Quaker Bridge Mall in December of Christmas, 2019. So this is like, I would technically consider this my first image, because I processed this in the New Year's, so it counts. It's in my 2020 folder. But I just love the prayer going on, like some sort of meditation, and like this idea of commercialism with this huge, gigantic photo of in fashion. Princeton. I don't know. I always feel lonely. So when I like walk around and shoot, I kind of think about how my feelings are. And I love how the red seat just emphasizes this while the person on the right is eating. Colors, Princeton. I do a little freelance for the Star Ledger. So this is one of my shots for them, the chess championship back in February over in Parsippany, I think it was. Can't remember off the top of my head. But like the feeling of frustration, you know, like is he like just finished the match, or he's just getting ready? Like the idea, like I always have these panic attacks when like I do things like this. So like this is really representational of myself a lot. Like that's why I like this photo. This is Asbury Park. I love how hands show things, tells a story. And that's, I think, what's visually, like, I don't take pictures of my family as much as I should. Most of the time, it's just things I explore and feel in life when I'm walking around. Just, I like this sign. It's like sunset and like Somerset. You know, like I just love the way the doll looks, and like this like scrunched up little American flag ascot or whatever it is around his neck, and just that gold light. This was probably the last night I saw Heather and Habib all together at the previous third Thursday. So that's why I was just talking about that for a second. But yeah, I love colors, you know. The moodiness of like that green to the Coca-Cola freezer, like, and like I love things like this. You know, that's why I don't really try to consider this street photography. This is the second or third week of lockdown. I saw this sign in downtown Westfield and just like loved it. This is not Jersey technically, but it is New Hope. I'm, doing a new project on fences also, which is kind of like a side thing I've been practicing. And I just love the fence, like the image telling the story. Trenton BLM photo rally protest. When was that? George Floyd. That was like in the beginning of everything. I never really posted any of it, but I figured I'd share one photo. Asbury Park. I love the beach. And everybody's masked up. Like I like looking for like family dynamics, especially when you're at the beach. A friend of ours of JKC Gallery, Edwin. This is a self-portrait of myself. Get the joke. Ha. This is on assignment. This is a drive-in movie theater. A little detail. Love yourself, but being able to see that through the confusion of different colors and everything around, a nice little message. Mechanic I work with, used to work with, is Craig. Love portraits, and I love the idea of putting him in his environment. Environmental portraiture to me is really cool. I'd like to get more into it. I like chaos. This was in Newark. This was a church service. Newark, Trenton. Famous guy in Trenton, Sweet Joe. And that's what, wait, yeah, oh, I guess it's, yeah, why didn't that one pop up? And then this one, which is my most recent. So an idea of like changing from one environment, trying to open up and see how you can do it in another environment. I think it's really important. And sorry if I'm ranting on this, but yes, that is my work. I'm going to stop sharing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cliff. That was amazing.
Oh, I blew through that really fast, right? So sorry, but that's
That was great. No,
it's easier that way.
We have so many questions for both of you in the chat box that I think our Q&A will definitely cover the last half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys both did an incredible job. It was so nice to see your new work, Cliff.
Thank you. It's a joy to be able to shoot every day.
Yeah.
Should we get into it?
Yeah, Michael, take it away.
All right. Yeah, and yes, thank you both very much, Sharon and Cliff. Sharon, the layers that go into your work, the layers of things that give you that surreal effect that you want to talk about. And we have a question about the surrealism. And Cliff, of course, working towards that decisive moment in that work is really fantastic. So this is from MFOL, MFOHL. Are you, and this is for Sharon, are you shooting film or paper in camera?
Oh, paper, all paper. And I develop my own work, my own pieces.
Great. And then Anibal Peyawu has quite a few questions, but we'll just ask them in order. For Sharon, could you talk more about how you define surreal?
Okay, so I think what I want to do is raise questions when I define surreal, I think about happening upon a scene that you would just be wandering. I think about wandering around and then just seeing this person sitting up on this structure and saying, what is she doing there? And that's how I think about surreal.
So surreal is actually in the process as well as the final image?
Well, oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When I go and I scout out locations, I'm looking for I ask myself, what could that look like? What else could that look like?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a sculpture that maybe has there's one that I'm going to be looking at to work there, and it's a big button, and I think, what could it look like in pinhole? Because it's going to look different.
Right. All right. And this is from Chris Sebring. It appears as though you are using photo paper, which you said you were. Can you get multiple shots during a
Yes.
photo shoot? If so, how do you accomplish this in the field?
Okay, well, one shot per camera. And so I don't know what I've gotten in the field, but I have 25 chances, let's just say. And then and then I'll see them when I develop them. And I have to say, for the most part, a good shoot is one piece.
Mm.
If I get more than one, it's really a miracle.
All right. Heather is nodding aggressively.
That's true. Pinhole hard.
And Christopher Davis, hi. For Sharon, when you're going outside to shoot, how are you metering and exposing for your shots?
Okay. So I know my cameras, and in the sun, I know certain cameras are 15 seconds, some are 12. So I just go by my basic, is it in the bright sunlight or is it in the shade? And the shade is harder, and I don't meter or do any kind of whatever stuff people do to gauge light. I just count and hope hope for the best. So
Sharon, that is amazing. I love that.
Another question from Anibal Peawu. Would you consider 19th century photographers like F. Hollanday an influence? So some of those pictorial photographers.
Oh, when I used to when I started, but the whole thing is, my background is in printmaking and painting, and it's not in photography. And I just picked up photography because I wanted to get some subjects going for my work, and I never thought I would be in photography. So I don't really have a photography background, but I did start looking at older work, and I love that pictorialism. Absolutely.
Yeah. And actually what you just said leads into Anibal's next question was, do you use particular narrative ideas when setting up the shots? How much is left to chance in pre or post production?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So I do either bring a prop or choose a location where I can play off of a subject of some sort. I'm not really good with just open-ended things that I'm just out in the field and I don't know what to do because the world's just too big for me. So I just like to zero in on something, and then I get there and I just toss it all up and say potluck, and pretty much pay attention to the moment and the model. So.
All right. There's one more quick question for you that just came up. What type of paper do you use?
Oh, Arista EDU. And I've been using that from the start.
Oh, wow. All right, Cliff, these are for you from David's phone. Other than scene and subject, is there anything else visually that attracts you to a certain image?
I mean, it's a lot about, like, I don't know. I get a lot of it from like being drilled in art school, which is probably a little bit nerdy, but like I really think about how something will affect me. Like what's the little common piece that like hits me that I can relate to, and then like that's what draws me into a frame. That's why I guess you take thousands and thousands of photos before you get like a few hundred good. Like so that's how I approach it. I don't know if that answers it completely, but a lot of it is also just like left up to chance and luck, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about just being there at the right place at the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actively looking for it.
Well, actually, on that question too, Anibal Peyawu again, how long have you been actively photographing?
Oh, damn. Actively shooting in street, shooting like life like outside in the street or just everywhere since probably like 2010, so close to 10 years.
Hmm. All right. Um, from John Flandenet. Sorry if I mispronounced anyone's name. Hi, Cliff. Do you see yourself shooting in New York City again?
Always, but I'm not gonna make a point just to go out just to do it. I think that was like something that I did a lot living in New Jersey. I mean, I had the excuse because I was, either going to school in in New York City or working in the city. So um, that was part of the process of it. But now I think it's just me going there to have fun with friends when we're allowed to, and like just carrying a camera on with me at all times. I mean, I always have a camera. We all do. It's, cell phone. So like, there's always an opportunity. It's just there's no trips out of it.
Yeah. And then actually, kind of along those lines too, from Chris Davis, what was your thought process from shooting in a big city and fast-paced environment to a smaller town?
It's hard. uh, I have a little bit of adjustment cheating because like when I left New Jersey and New York and I moved to Los Angeles for a few years, I had, LA is a way slower paced city, like environmentally when you're shooting on the street versus New York. So it's a little tactfulness, but as long as you can get what you can get. I mean, I just, not as of close up and not as like in the way as I am in the city. I mean, that's probably what's the fun about shooting in New York, right? Like you can just like walk up to somebody, take this really up close picture, and half of them don't even know you're doing it because everybody's going from point A to B, and everybody's in tunnel vision. Um, in the suburbs or like other cities, like everybody's looking and observing. So you have to be a little, you have to know your environments, right, and like know when and where to do it, and also be good at talking to people.
Yeah. Yep. From Joy Cow or Chow, I'm sorry, not sure. Any tips for shooting street photography and capturing the perfect shot? And actually, you just
Well,
said
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Keep
it's
on
that
shooting.
negotiation, right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody gets yelled at. I mean, I've been threatened a few times. Like I'm pretty sure Habib has too, and like a lot of our friends. No, no. Oh, damn. Okay. I've been
Uh,
almost robbed once. So.
are you kind of the sort of quicker Winogrand style of putting the camera up, putting the camera down, putting the camera up, putting the camera down, or more like standing in a spot, camera ready to go, waiting for something to fill a stage?
I like both. Part of the reason why when I was working in New York, I ended up deciding I wanted to go wider angle and flash because I felt like flash would no longer like give me. I mean, I like the aesthetic, but it also gives me more of an excuse to actually communicate with the people I'm capturing because I'm more obvious what I'm doing. So that was a kind of like a way of me evolving to help with that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then from John Flandenet, how do you keep yourself motivated shooting street? How do you get past the slumps?
Keep on. I mean, everybody has slumps, right? Take a vacation. I don't know. It's hard to say. Um, I mean, basically a lot of people that I like street because it's just being able to see everything, right? Like being able to be in that environment and massive amounts of people. I'm a little bit of an extrovert, so like COVID like really puts a hamper on everything with that. But it's just like you just have to get over it, and sometimes it's through friends, family, work, other forms of art and inspiration. Like I was about to sell my 4x5, Sharon. Now I'm thinking maybe I should just start using it. Like that's it's certain inspirations coming from other when you get to meet and network. We meet with other people and get inspired by what they see and how they see. So um, it's just constantly going after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From David Christopher. Thank you, David. Who is your biggest inspiration? Did you have a favorite from your lucid dream set? And did you? I'm not sure what that means. Did you have an inspiration from the lucid dream set, I think, or a favorite?
A favorite? I mean, just looking at it.
Well, the first part of the question was, who is your biggest inspiration?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to say. I guess like Stephen Shore and Gary Winogrand.
Makes sense.
Like name drop, you know, like I don't know. I love both of their styles and they're completely different, but
wow, that really goes to street photography and backyards, doesn't it?
yeah, big influences.
Yeah. From Christopher Davis, what are some of the photo books that inspire you and that you recommend?
Oh man.
That's being put on the spot, Chris.
I really like Tatsuo Suzuki's new book. It came out a few months ago. He was a Fuji rep for like a hot minute, and then they screwed him over. I thought his book was gorgeous. I have it. That's a really cool book, and I really love Suffering of Light with Alex Webb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a signed copy, so maybe I'm just a little biased.
This is a question from Ed Horta, and I think actually it'd be interesting to hear from both of you. What made you fall in love with photography?
Oh man, you want to go, Sharon, or?
Because Sharon, you were a printmaker, right?
Yeah. Yes, I was. So it's fall in love with photography. Well, I can't say photography in general. I would say pinhole photography. I fell in love with it when the first image that I developed, I did not know what it was. And it is not as I expected it to be. Therefore, I was not bored, and I was bored with my work. So I was hooked instantly because I was curious. And that's why I fell in love with pinhole photography. My curiosity piqued my curiosity.
Just a quick follow-up to that. Did you study printmaking? Were you in graphic design? Were you doing commercial work, or is it always fine art?
I've always done fine art. I'm a graduate of Rutgers University in printmaking. And then I've worked all through my years here of working as a photo retoucher, and I was doing restorations. So I've always worked in the photography field, but really I've had zero interest in photography until I met a photographer. Yeah, zero, until I met a photographer who I was talking about to him about how I was bored with my work. And he said, I think pinhole photography is for you, just out of the blue. And it certainly was. And that's how it started. He gave me a book called from Eric Renner, Rediscovering the Historic Technique of Pinhole Photography. And as soon as I looked at the imagery in the book, I said, that is how I want to see my work. This is what I want to see. I don't want to do a photograph that just is what I saw, but what I want it to be. And that seems to happen for me with pinhole.
Yeah. I mean, there is a real inkiness to the work that you make too.
Definitely. Absolutely. I haven't strayed too far from printmaking. Yes.
All right, Cliff, how about you? Did you think of something?
I mean, yeah, I just love it. Like I grew up like visually with like a very artistic family. And like my aunts, like one's a fashion designer, one's a painter, one's a designer. And so like I always had that around. My brother was in illustration too. And then I guess like I was a graphic design student in a community college, and I took a photo class, and I just kind of fell in love with it. Kind of corny, but it happened, and I just went from there. I started shooting cars first, but like I just love shooting things and people and places. So it just became a thing, and like I enjoy doing it on a full-time scale. So it's just I love it. I don't see myself ever doing anything else. Like
yeah. For both of you again, from Anibal Payowu, do you see your work ending as prints in books, or digital? And what is your preferred sort of way to show your work?
Prints, definitely.
Okay. Prints.
Yeah, prints. Like digital, like I think we talked about this, Michael, one time. Like Instagram does such a disservice to photos and imagery. You know, like it looks like it looks way different when it's actually like in your face in a physical form.
Absolutely. It's the greatest irony we have right now is that the number one platform for showing photos is one of the worst platforms for showing
Yes,
photos.
yes.
Yes. Okay. From Juho, I'm sorry. Is it Yuho? Yuho? Okay. Anyway, the mystery results. The mystery results of pinhole photography is the best aspect of it. Oh, that was a compliment. Sorry, that wasn't a question. There were a lot of compliments in the chat too, and you guys should take a moment to roll through it because we had so many questions. I wanted to keep going with the questions. And the last one from Anibal to follow up was in terms of like scale. Is it the big prints, the hand holdable prints? What is it?
I like both. I think it really the scale really depends on what you're like photographing and how you want to convey it and the message you're trying to send. I have some things I like really big, and some things I just like 8 by 10 or 11 by 14. So like it really depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, Sharon, what are your prints typically in size?
Yeah, well, I agree with Cliff that sometimes it's large, and I have oh my gosh, I pretty large prints. I do have a few of them, and then sometimes I want to see. I feel that they're more like looking into like jewel-like and just something small and intimate. That I prefer to print something that way. And sometimes I can see each print both ways. I can see it as really big and really small. So I just have to make a decision at some point.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to stop talking now and let Habib and Heather wrap it up for us. But thank you all from the JKC Gallery. And God, we hope to see you in the spring in person.
I want to say thank you to both of the artists for showing your work. It was truly amazing. Sharon, your pinhole photography, oh my gosh, that's it's amazing. I'm actually probably going to try to get in touch with you for actually trying to get a print. I just love the dark feeling of it. It's amazing. Cliff, as usual, I'm looking forward to seeing more work from out of you. Keep it up. I have a couple questions I want to ask you. Like one of my questions I want to ask you is how often do you actually use Flash with your street work? Because I've seen that's something that you could do. You do it a lot. You do it pretty well. We could talk about that later on. Heather, you want to have anything else to say?
Well, I actually just wanted to thank both Sharon and Cliff. I think that you guys both make me view the world in a new light. I think that you both photograph somewhat ordinary objects and ordinary people and things, but the way that you're able to photograph them, the final product of your image is just like, I don't know, it's just so playful and it makes me see the world in a new way. And I just really appreciate both of you for that. I love both of your work. I'm very thankful that you're here with us tonight. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us as well. And then I don't have a specific question, but we have sort of a tradition with Third Thursdays that at the end of each meeting, we ask members of the audience if they would be interested in being a future featured photographer. So I'm about to press enter. I just did in the chat box. If any of you are interested in like future months being one of our photographers, you can fill out that form. So I wanted to throw that out there.
Awesome. Let me ask a quick question to Heather, Sharon. Do you pinhole photographers usually travel in groups? Because there's a lot of you guys on the chat right now. You guys are representing in the chat. I see it.
We have a tight knit community. We stick together.
I love it.
I made sure to tell my community that how amazing Sharon is and invited them to our event tonight.
It's awesome. There's so many different mediums you can do in photography. I love it, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Dolo says in the chat box he's going to check out the Lensless Photography podcast. So that's good. And he wants to do pinhole photography. We're going to add him into our group.
Chris, pinhole street photography, man. Like,
That's
I
amazing.
dig it.
You have to tell everyone on the sidewalk, don't move for 10 seconds.
Well, if you use Flash, wouldn't it like be able to like freeze the object? So like
Cliff,
it
looks
might
like
work.
you've got yourself a new project.
Oh, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, thank
All
you.
right, guys. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much. Everyone that joined in, I want everyone to be safe out here. Get ready for Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, whatever you're gonna do with your family.
Yeah, true.
Nice, tight, intimate, mask up. Besides that, Michael, do you want to say anything else as far as when they're going to be reposting this
So
live
yes,
Zoom?
the Zoom recordings get posted on the website jkcgallery.online. JKC Gallery, all one word. I've also saved the chat, which I'll send to both of our guests, and our moderators, so they can read all the nice compliments that they got.
Awesome. One more thing, artist, do you want to tell any future projects or websites where the viewers can see any of your work at? Any things like that?
I would just say check out my Instagram. I think Heather had it in the link. And eventually, in the next couple of weeks, the New York zine, I'll have a link there for sale.
Awesome.
Awesome.
But you asked me, right? Or did I not answer?
Well, thank you everyone again. And we hope to see you in December for our last third Thursday of this season. And then we'll be back, I think in January, but I don't remember where the third Thursday falls in there. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
All right. Let me save that chat.
Was quite good.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.